Hello, my fellow Rotarians. Welcome back to the legendary D6270 Rotary Podcast. My name is Christopher Ulrich. I'm your district governor nominee, and we have the privilege of the one and only Ben Zang here. Hello and welcome, Ben.
Thanks so much for having me, Chris. I couldn't be more excited, truthfully. This is
I'm
awesome.
excited. I'm pretty happy too. I got to tell everybody right off the bat, Ben had the best response to the email as I was asking people, like, hey, will you be part of this new thing? And it was like a right away response with a bunch of exclamation points, and I loved that. So that's the energy that we want with Rotary leaders. Ben, tell us about yourself professionally. What do you do for a living?
So I am a benefits worker, which is a very boring way of saying I come into companies and I help them take care of their people, health insurance, dental, vision, all that fun stuff. So my job is to come in and not just um, get them set up on a program, but most of the time I kind of bring a lack. Uh, an amount of clarity to a very non-transparent world, right? I
Hmm.
got into it because I'm a big believer of a lack of bullying, and I'm not sure there's a more bullying uh, industry out there than health insurance and the medical society, right?
Oh boy, yeah,
There's
it could be a little toxic, that's for sure.
for sure.
All So with all that toxicity, what do you do to unwind? What do you do for fun, hobbies, family, everything?
I have twin 8-year-olds, a boy, girl, and a 12-year-old. And so they keep me pretty active outside of it, right? So there's not a lot of free time. I find I am a full-time chauffeur to all of the different kids' activities, as any other
Oh
parent
man,
with kids that
I'm getting
age.
there. I tell you what, it's weird, isn't it?
It is. I don't
It's a
remember
lot.
being in as many things as my kids are, which I think leads to the whole your kids get better opportunities than you do as a parent, right?
Mm.
Because you're trying to give them a better life. But yeah, it's a lot at times. But I do some woodworking. We're working on our house, which seems to be a never-ending struggle, and all of that fun stuff. So yeah, that's kind of how I unwind. Good
That's
ride
pretty
around
cool.
the
As you can,
tractor on the lawn is good too,
oh, that's yeah. I think that's mental clarity, mental health. Running, doing the
for
lawnmower.
sure.
As you can see, and for anybody who watches the podcast on YouTube, I record these in my workshop here. Did you build the bookshelves behind you?
I did. I did actually. And I was looking at your carpenter square and your tools all neat on your bench behind you. That is amazing. Mine
Well,
is
thank you.
not like that. Mine kind of
Well,
looks like,
next time you're up in Oshkosh, you can come get a tour. I'd love to show you around.
yeah, I'd love that.
I think you're probably organized in the way that I am, where it can be organized chaos. Like you've got a pile of stuff off camera, and but you know where it is in that pile. It doesn't have to be
For
beautifully
sure.
displayed.
Yeah, for
I think
sure.
that's how we organize things in Rotary too, because there's so many pieces on all the committees and the alphabet soup of Rotary. It's kind of like organized chaos, but so
I
be
would
it.
agree.
Speaking of
I would agree.
Rotary, tell us what club you belong to, how long you've been a Rotarian, and something interesting about your club.
So I became a Rotarian 4 years ago. I joined the Mequon Thiensville Sunrise Rotary. We are the most lively 7 a.m. on a Friday meeting you can ever imagine. Um, it's interesting. I was looking for a Rotary club, and of course, I didn't do any research on it at all. And a friend of mine asked me to come to their club, which was in West Bend at the time, and which for me is about a 45-minute drive. So at 5:30, I'm getting up to get ready to go to this Rotary meeting, and the person who was speaking happened to be from the Mequon Thiensville Sunrise Rotary. And so he was giving the talk. And so I went up afterwards, said I really enjoyed the talk. And I was like, where are you from? And he's like, oh, my club is in the Mequon Thiensville Sunrise Rotary. And I was like, wait, there's a club in Mequon? And he's like, yeah, we meet at the public market. And I was like, that's 3 minutes from my house. And all I kept thinking was, no more 5:30 wake ups. I am getting in at this time. This is great. Right. And then later I found out there was a noon club, but by that time they had already hooked me. So I was in. But yeah, it's a lively group. Um, they we do a lot in our community where right now we're working on. a all-user playground, which will be about a $4.2 million lift, the last numbers. And it is full speed ahead. We are through all of the planning projects part, and so we're close to breaking ground here soon. We're at the last phase of the fundraising. Not that our club has raised that much, but we're a
Hmm.
part of a large organization that are doing it within our community. It's awesome.
Yeah, Rotary Park is a really neat thing. Angie was actually talking about that in an early episode, and I got to, really do a deep dive into it after the fact on the internet. For anybody who's not familiar with Rotary Park down there, it is beautiful, highly rated, and this inclusive park that you guys are trying to build is a really cool thing. I think I like clubs that do parks. Some reason in my Rotary history, I originally joined the Rotary Club of Neenah, and some of the real old Rotarians at that time came up to me like, "Oh yes, we're a parks building club, son." And I remember thinking, "Oh, is that a thing?" And it was super cool. And I learned about all the different parks in Neenah that Rotarians had built, and not just raised money for, but like physically done stuff. So some of my early core memories of like what do Rotarians do? Rotarians do parks. So I
Yeah,
love seeing parks. I just have a soft spot for it. That's pretty cool. So
I
you've
agree.
you've only been a Rotarian for 4 years?
4 years. They hooked me early, and I think within 4 months of me coming on, I was gonna start in the presidential line. So I started as a VP, which in our club it goes VP, president-elect, president, past president, and then you cycle off. And so within 4 months, I got asked, and I was like, first off, I don't know what I'm doing. I just joined the club. And then, as a benefits broker, my November to basically my October to January, my wife calls it her single parenthood moment
Ah,
where
yes.
work is so busy, right? For that she becomes a single parent. So I said, if you want me, but these 5 months, I'm non-existent. So so I'm like, so you have to know, I'm not non-existent as in like I'm gonna be uh, inconsistent to coming. I am non-existent from this point. So you will have to call, text, and stalk me to get me in that time. So they still said yes. I'm not sure if they were just desperate or they really wanted me, but that was the beginning of me learning how expansive Rotary was, right? So we come in and we think parks, or we think, oh, they're the ones that do that cool pancake dinner or that international, like
Hmm.
whatever it is that's in your community. And because Rotarians do so many different things, it's different in every community, right? And so you start to see it in how it impacts not only your community, but every community around you. And then you go to a district event like Pets and you meet other presidents or presidents elects at that time, and they
Yeah.
start talking about their projects. And then they talk about the Rotary R&D, which is rip off and duplicate, right? Oh, you do that event up there, we should do that, right? And so
We
you
should we
learn all
copy that
these
here.
things.
Hmm.
Yeah, right. And so you learn so much about it, and then you start to see kind of the international side and what it does around the world. And you realize you are a small part of a greater whole.
Yeah, man. It's just like when you think you know everything, you turn the corner and like, oh, here's a whole new area
Oh,
to explore with
oh yeah,
subject matter experts and people who are passionate, right?
yes,
My gosh, passionate about international service, passionate about local grants, passionate about
yeah,
just what their club does. It is so
for
cool.
sure.
Well, you've come a long way in just 4 years. Everybody listening should also know that you are an assistant governor. Now, this is your first year as AG, isn't it? Or is it your second?
I am 22 days in, so
Okay,
yes.
that's what I thought. I remember it was something to be celebrated, but I'm still getting my hold of who's been here for what times. Tell us what your service area is and how your visits have gone so far.
So I have been to one club so far. I missed one or governor visit, which was completely my bad. Um, but I have the Oconomowoc, um, Wannago, and the two Waukesha clubs. And so I just visited the Waukesha Noon Club. They had a emissary in from what was it? Um, Argentina. They had
Ooh.
couple of really, so they talked a little bit, the mayor talked about Waukesha and the history of Waukesha and how basically from its Indian roots all the way through um, the it being a spring water capital back when spring water was a medicinal thing,
Ah,
right?
all right.
So it was a bottling thing. It was a bottling plant there. And so it's really interesting. The great thing about Rotary is not only is it just an international organization with like 1.2 million Rotarians across the world or something like that, but you really get a good picture of the microcosm, right? So you get to see and feel what that community is like. And so as I do the rest of my visits, which I'm trying to get through in the next couple weeks, and I am introducing Dawn on Friday, um, it you really get a sense of what that community is like, right?
Yes, you do.
So Um, I joined Rotary thinking there was going to be some business networking. I was going to get to rub shoulders with like the community pillars.
Mm-hmm.
And I found the business side took second place to the community side of things, right? And I
Yes.
think the biggest thing for me is I have three kids and I want them to learn how to serve within your community. And I think Rotary gives um, a number of different avenues for that, right? And so then they
And
can start to see that the
yes.
community is built by people like Rotarians.
Real people, yes, real
Yeah.
Rotarians, real people that they can come to know and love. You and I are so
Mhm.
similar in that way. I have to share. I bring my kids to club meetings, and my eldest, who is going to be 8 this month, she's come to different service projects, simple things, highway cleanup, or like her job was to pick up the golf balls, and
Yeah.
I like them to be exposed to these people who are doing good in our community.
Mhm.
And you're right. You're going to make, I think, an excellent assistant governor because AGs should be club champions. And just the way you described your visit to Oconomowoc, I think you're on the right track, and I hope you have a lot of fun. I remember when I was an AG, I was spoiled. I was for Nina Menasha and Dana. I was in the Nina Club, so she just did so much of the work it seemed that I needed to do. I was just going to meetings and having some fun. And then when I was in Oshkosh, I've been in Oshkosh now. This is my 5th year with Southwest, and the area changed, and I was just going and visiting the club. But we had some PDGs already in both the clubs, and so I was just this kind of guy there. There was really good representation from the district, but you
Yeah.
are out there really representing us and making the important connections. Thank you very much for that. I
Yeah.
think
It's
it's important
interesting.
to
I
thank
don't,
people who step up. So,
I appreciate that. It's interesting because my club isn't a part of my D or my AG. Like,
mm-hmm.
Terry Schott is the AG and in my club, and he's a part of my club. So our club has two AGs, and he takes that Ozaki side, and so he's been great about it. And everybody who's I've talked to at the district, they're like, AG is the best role of all to have because you get to really see the different clubs and be a part
Yeah.
of the experience and see things. So it's been a really an amazing experience in my 22 days on the job, right?
Well, kudos to you for taking it on and just saying yes. Rotarians say yes, and we get the job done, and you're a prime example of that. Let's move on to some meatier topics of this podcast. The Rotary International theme for the month of August is membership and new club development, and I think that ties in so well to Rotary Means Business, which we want to talk about. You
Yeah.
get those people to have a deeper connection, some great value out of their Rotary membership, out of this Rotary event. I think it'll drive membership and retention, all sorts of good stuff. I'd like you to tell us what is Rotary Means Business? What's the history of it internationally or locally?
Yeah.
And tell us what we're trying to do.
So back in 2004, there was a gentleman, Mark Burchill, in San Francisco, who started the whole kind of Rotary Means Business, um, kind of a reconnecting to our roots. If you are in my Rotary, and there's a ton of resources in my, you can get lost really quick. But one of the
Yes.
gems I found was this speech by Paul Harris, who was talking about the secret sauce, Rotary at the time. And he was talking about the fact that we only allow one person within an industry to be in a Rotary club,
Yes, that was the case for a long
right?
time.
So if you were a banker and you couldn't get into your local Rotary club, you had to start another Rotary club
Hmm.
to be to start it. And when you think about how much access we have right now, the world is literally at our fingertips on our phone. The problem with all that access is it doesn't mean that we're connected. And I think clubs themselves are the very connection point. And so when you think of the founders, Paul Harris and his, I cannot remember his name off the top of my head, but his kind of mentor and other lawyer who kind of was the beginning of this part is they brought together industries that they wanted to sell to be a part of, and they brought in community leaders, and then that group of community leaders were committed to one another through not just friendship, but to grow each other's business within the community. And so Rotary's always had that component in its DNA. The problem is I think that DNA's laid gotten bigger and we've watched the impact, and the impact is great that Rotary does, but I think there is a call now as more and more businesses have their own charitable arms. They're not coming to
Hmm.
Rotary to be that charitable arm. And so I think we as Rotarians
Hmm.
almost have to devolve back to our roots and start to bring in some of those business components. And I think that's what Rotary Means Business is supposed to do. Is it's supposed to it's a fellowship within Rotary. And so if you ever go down the rabbit hole of fellowships,
Hmm.
there's a fellowship for everything. Golf, travel, beer making, right? But
Yeah,
there are
that's it.
people like myself who are in the middle or prime or however you want to say it of our business careers while we're raising our young kids. We're not retired, right? We're working 50 some odd hours. There has to be an outlet and ROI to Rotary. And though the ROI as a parent is extremely um, overflowing, right? I mean, it's amazing what my kids are learning through Rotary. But from a business standpoint, I had always made the joke my club was the worst business decision I've ever made because most of my clubs are retired. Most of my club members are retired. And so from a business standpoint, there isn't a ton for me to do within my club except serve, right? And we even when I first joined, we had this member who had been in it a while, and he said, "Look, don't talk about your business. You'll probably get business out of the
Yes,
club.
it
Don't
was
talk
taboo
about it."
for a long time.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And so he's like, and I've always been of the mindset that if you put good in to the world, good will come back, right? So if I'm not, so my growth in my business has always been through networking. So, but it's networking to give, and it will come back, right? You'll find others who will give and lift you up. But my point with Rotary Means Business is, you know, there are people within our clubs who are trying to grow their business, are trying to feed their families. And if we're big on feeding our community, but I think we have to look at feeding the community inside the clubs too. And so I think Rotary Means Business is a wonderful channel for that. Um, it are focused on their business to meet other like-minded Rotarians to where we can lift each other up in this thing.
So, is it specifically Rotarians meeting Rotarians? I'm wondering how Rotary Means Business might differ from a typical chamber networking event or some other group like B&B, because there are plenty of people who are familiar with those. Can you elaborate on that a bit?
Sure. So it's not just Rotarians in Rotary Means Business. The idea is both twofold. If you look at it from what's in it for Rotary and then what's in it for the Rotarian itself, there are two major components. Rotary means business. What's in it for Rotary is it should be an exposure of Rotarian values to non-Rotarians. If I come to
Great.
Rotary Means Business and I bring an accountant, a financial planner, and say a business coach to this networking event, exposed to the four-way test, right? If they're exposed to, look, my business runs through the four-way test. The Rotarians in the room, it all runs through the four-way test. How we act in our lives is in accordance with that test. So then if you're a non-Rotarian, you're like, hey, what's this four-way test
What is
thinking
this?
about?
Yeah.
Right? This
Okay.
is interesting. This is a belief system within these core group of people. Then you ask, who has announcements? And I say, hey, our group is getting together at Taste of Mequon. We're going to be out here in a booth talking about our all-user Rotary playground. And somebody from Waukesha brings up their club service project that they're doing, and somebody else brings up theirs. And then suddenly these guests who are coming to this Rotary Means Business function are now exposed to, hey, there's a lot of good work that's being done in these people. I wonder if Rotary, I haven't looked at Rotary yet, and now I can be a part of something that's doing this good in our thing. And then there should
Excellent.
be business talked about within Rotary, right? If you look at like you talked about the chaos of Rotary in it, right?
Sure. It's organized
Organizational,
chaos. Yes.
yeah, it's organized chaos, right? And we, I've been in those district strategic meetings where we're talking about how we need to get information to the clubs from the district level, right? And that's tough. But you also have, you know, within a 20-minute um, segment of ours, there's four clubs. And how are we in our little area of the world connecting with those four clubs? And so if I have four people from each club at this Rotary Means Business, I can see, oh, Cedarburg's doing this great work. I want to be a part of that. This is a 10-minute drive from my house. I should be a part of this, right? Then we can start to bond those clubs together, very much like an AG's territory. And so the
Yes. Yeah.
idea in a Rotary Means Business is from a district standpoint, I want to create a group of passionate people about this concept. And trying to start something off the ground is a big lift in resources. And
So,
so,
speaking of starting it off the ground, if I might interrupt, last
yeah,
month at the beginning of July, you had the first RMB meeting in your area, right? It was that
yes.
second week of the month. Tell us a little bit about it. How many people came? What was the atmosphere like? And how did it go?
Yeah. So it was 13 of us that were in. We had two non-Rotarians who came in off a LinkedIn post. I had a
Really?
number of people reach out from the district side because it went out to all of the members and the what's it called? Uh,
Club through Club
Presidents.
Runner.
Yep,
Hmm.
through Club Runner. And then I had a number of people like, oh, that night doesn't work for me, but please keep me posted, right? So we are building a list of people that are interested in it. But
That's right.
uh, Andre Adams came from Chicago, up from Chicago, who is the president of the Midwest Board, of which I sit on. And then
Terrific.
it's slowly moving to kind of a board as all of the controlled chaos of Rotary and organizational flows begin to happen, right? But he came up and he gave a rendition of basically the history of Rotary Means Business, kind of what it looks like, what the key components are. Tola, who's been a past district governor here in 6270, was the beginning member of Rotary Means Business in Wisconsin, and he
Okay.
had started it. And had it going for a little bit. And then, as in most of our service organizations, and Rotary's no exception, COVID kind of put a damper on some of that stuff,
Yeah,
right?
a
And
lot of things.
so,
R&B suffered a lot too.
mhm. Yeah, and so R&B kind of took a step backwards. And then um, when I was introduced to it at a district event, I want to say last September, right, when Andre came up and spoke. Um, I didn't know COLA had even existed within the R&B structure. So as you work
Hmm.
through pets and you work through some of the district, there was this connection of, hey, this was at one point a time in our focus here in our district, and COLA had headed up. So COLA actually was nice enough to host the event at his place, which was amazing. My wife and I did a nice little cheese board, a little charcuterie, right,
Ooh,
for
very
everybody.
popular.
Yes. And then he came through, and then we talked about it. We had a number of people from the West Bend Club. There was a gentleman who came all the way up from Racine, Kenosha area.
Yep.
So he was in second place. Oh, and then Liz Nevitt, the former district governor, was there too. So it was interesting to hear the amount of drives and travel time just to come to the initial meeting.
Right.
So it was really interesting.
Interests. Right. They
Yeah.
wanted to be there. How many of these are you planning, and are they going to be in different parts of the district? Like, talk about the rest of the year.
Yeah,
Some of your goals.
so there will be a Rotary Means Business meeting once a month for the next
Once a month for the
foreseeable.
whole year?
Yep, yep.
Wow, that's spectacular. I was thinking maybe 4 to 6 a year. I
No,
and
I'd
here
like
I
to
thought
do
I
it
was in
once a
the
month.
know.
Yeah,
This is great.
yeah. So I'd like to do it once a month. There are a cadence. The strategic plan is really straightforward. So kind of broke the year down into what's known as like the trimesters, right? So we'll do one event where we will have a business topic. Maybe we'll start with something like AI since it's very popular.
Hmm.
And then
Mm-hmm.
we will, so this is a great event for people to bring others within their network to come and listen to a topic, um, another business centric topic, right? Economic development in the area and things like that. So after that, then we'll move to what's known as like two sponsorship events, where if you want to highlight your business, we'll come and we'll do your business. And then you'll be able to give a 10-minute talk on what you do, what you're looking for, how you do business, what's your differentiation within your market. And then, so we'll do two little sponsorships. Then we'll do something fun, right?
Hmm.
There's a wonderful Rotarian who runs the events at Dave and Buster's here in Tosa. So I think we'll
Oh,
do
really?
something like that, right? Where it gets a chance for Rotarians to kind of get out of their heads and have a little fun with one another. But the idea is to build a community within the district of business-minded people. And then as we move forward through this and people are starting to get exposed to this idea of Rotary Means Business and the ability to kind of gather and be in a place, a community of business-minded folks, um, we can start to, let's say, four people came from West Bend in this last event, right? If West Bend keeps growing, their area around West Bend, Slinger, Hartford, they can start their own chapter once they're up and ready to go.
Okay.
And so then the district can help bring them resources as they move on. But the idea is that from the district standpoint, we're going to kind of move this around as people get used to the idea and the concept, and then champions should be the the communities are so close knit in Wisconsin, and it's not just
That's true.
right. Like Mequon is not just an island, right? We have Germantown, Cedarburg, Grafton, Menominee Falls, Sussex, right? And there's the North Shore, Glendale area. All of that is so close together that those resources and those that business can be done. Like I can do business throughout. I'm licensed in 4 different states. This could
Hmm.
be, you can go from statewide or to grow your business to national to
Hmm.
international.
Regional. Yeah.
So there's a
That's really
ton to
interesting.
explore.
I was wondering because you were so involved in our visioning that we did back in April. I was going to ask you what some of the goals were for R&B over the next 3 years. And it sounds like this is definitely one of the goals to reintroduce it this year, all these monthly visits, and then level up to these individual chapters. Is that a pretty fair summary of what you were saying? Any other goals
Yeah,
that we want for RMB? Do you have any like numbers in terms of maybe new Rotarians that you want to bring in through this, or are you going to track maybe dollars of impact in sales or business that was brought about from this, or try to encourage that? I know it's kind of hard to. I don't know. Do you have any grand hopes and dreams?
I'd like to see 3 chapters in the next 5 years grow out of
Hmm.
this. I think from the business standpoint, I think that's tough to track numbers. I also know that one of the things we talked about at the district is, Rotarians are volunteers, right? Nobody's
Yes.
getting paid for this, right? And so the more things you try and track, the harder that
Yeah.
becomes from that
Yeah,
data
and it does
analytics
drain.
standpoint, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
So I would much rather see the energy move into memberships, right? So I was doing business with a client in West Bend. I met a gentleman at he was the branch manager at one of the local banks. And I said, "Have you heard of Rotary?" Right? And he's like, "Yes, I know. I'm supposed to join. I just haven't gotten there yet." And I was like, "Well, allow me to make some introductions, right?" So
That's right. You got to plant that seed and make 7 touches until it becomes their idea and all that jazz. Way to
exactly.
go.
So
Hmm.
I think that's so the idea is the more people we can bring in that are non-Rotarians into these meetings, and the more they can start to see and we can expose them to the Rotary philosophy and the meaning of life of Rotary, right? It's not hard to get people hooked. I think 1 or 2 events that you're at and you see them at people, and if you can give them enough um, like reason to come back, I think you're going to see a lot. One of the things that I hope Rotary Means Business does from a long-term standpoint is I always say Rotary is the worst kept secret. Why we are so secretive about how great Rotary is, I do not know. But you
All these
look at
humble Midwesterners who don't want to brag about all the good things that we do in the community or the money that we give away, and right,
yeah,
worst
well,
kept
like
secret.
my my group, yeah, my group, there's a probably we're 80% probably retired, 20% still in the workforce.
That's a
But
pretty
you
odd skew. Hmm.
Yeah, so when you look at, I did this thing when I was a president, and I said, yes, you can tell it's your Rotary moment, but what I really want to know is one interesting thing about you that the club doesn't know. And so my thought in this is I saw all these people with a 25, 30-year friendship within my club. That is a daunting task as a new member to try and
It is.
ingratiate yourself in, right?
And
And
learn these new things, but that's fellowship right there.
It is. It is. And so one of the things that was interesting was as people were talking, we got to hear these just amazing stories of, oh my gosh, the quiet dentist is a double black belt in different
Oh gosh.
martial
Oh,
arts, right? Or one of them was one of their summer jobs was they were a roadie for a rock and roll band. And you look at this person and you're like, this is a pillar of the community, right? Or I mean, just the interesting things that would come out of their mouths. And you're like, these things sometimes we lose the people connection. And I think Rotary does a really good job of focusing us in one area of service and things like that. But I think as we grow membership, I think we have to find a way to keep the interconnectivity and introducing the new people into this life that is Rotary, right? So I'm a big proponent of connection and learning about the person and things like that. And I think as we move through this Rotary Means Business Fellowship, it's interesting as I talk about it in the clubs. One of their big concerns is the resources from our clubs.
hmm.
And I'm like, not if it's done right, right? They're like, now you're asking people to go to a separate meeting. I was like, well, we're asking people to that have an interest and a need. We're giving them
You're
another
giving him an
place where they can go
opportunity.
to.
That's right.
Correct.
You're not demanding something. You're giving him another piece of value that they can choose to engage with or
Right.
not.
And I don't
Hmm.
know a lot of Rotarians who are in a club in which they don't live. I think
Fair,
most people
or at least
live
very
in the
close by.
community. Correct. So if I bring in my accountant and my financial planner, live on over in Lake Country, they're not coming to my Mequon Deansville Rotary. I would love them,
Hmm.
but once it's that whole West Bend at waking up at 5:30, right? They're
Yes.
coming to the Oconomowoc, they're coming to Waukesha, they're coming to those clubs to be a part of their community. I highly recommend if you're looking at Rotary, if you happen to be in the ethosphere and you see this podcast, join the Rotary that you live in because the community and the connection to the community will basically power you up in so many different
Here,
ways.
here. That's right. And you become so aware of the important things that are happening in your community. This, I know this doesn't relate to R&B, but that's fine. We can sort of segue out of it as we, start to wrap things up in the next 5 minutes. But I, I think when I talk to people about one of the things that I love about Rotary in general, and we talk about Rotary happens in the clubs. And I like being an informed citizen. And our club still meets weekly. And we have just a variety of speakers, nonprofits, government, businesses, special events, and I like to be a well-informed citizen so that I can engage at a deeper level, and Rotary really does provide that. So it's a very good point you bring up. So,
Oh, sure.
is there any closing thoughts that you want to talk about RMB, either success stories from different states or anything else to tie this up?
Yeah, I think my biggest push for Rotary Means Business, and you've heard it a lot at the strategic, one thing in Rotary could save the world in Rotary. I think Rotary Means Business is it. I think there's so many opportunities for the clubs and the Rotarians itself to not only feed our Rotarians, but also do great inside the community, right? There are mentoring events that we could put on. There are um,
Hmm.
you can start to connect people that are in the middle of a job search, right? I mean, there's so many possibilities and service avenues that we can take. There's a big national conference, August 28th, so like 5 days from when this is airing, right? So
Very good.
it'll be great. It'll be a national side. We've got people coming in from Florida, all different states. I will be there and facilitating. My wife Nadia, who's also a Rotarian, will be there and has been doing the marketing for that on a club on a national level as well. Please come. It's in Chicago, so if you're in Wisconsin, it's right down your neck of the woods, right? And they have a
I'm
very
getting really,
thriving
yeah.
community.
I'm getting used to driving to Itasca, I tell you, for all the pets work that I have to do. I
Yes.
get to do. And I'm sure you're
Yeah.
getting used to driving to Chicago for this too.
Yeah.
But
So
that's
then, like
thrilling.
the pets thing, I love pets. I can't say enough good things about how that gets done. If you
It's
wanted
pretty
to
cool, isn't it?
create Rotarians, just send them to pets because that doesn't get you fired up. I don't know what does.
Oh yeah, and the emerging leaders track was brand new last year, and that's going to be revved up again this year. We're projecting a lot of growth year after year because of the positive feedback we got. And I mean, you talk about the best kept secret again in Rotary leadership development. We really do need to pitch it more because we make great leaders, corporate leaders, community leaders, business leaders.
For sure.
Yeah, pets is great. And when you eventually decide to apply for district governor when the time is right for you, you get to be on that pets planning committee and make it your own for a couple of years. So I know you're going to have a blast. I
I
also
don't
want to
know
give a
about
shout
that.
out
We'll
to.
see. Yeah.
Oh no, everybody says that, Ben. But again, you plant the seeds and others joining and coming to your club. It's up to us at the leadership level to help you recognize that in yourself. You will make a great district governor when the time is right for you. I want to give a shout out to your wife, Nadia, though. It is a rare thing to have a spouse as a Rotarian as well. So way to go, the two of you. I wish it could be like that in my world. My wife's a teacher, so that's just not as practical for us. But
We're in two
we
different
often
clubs too.
forget.
She's not even
Are
in
you
my
really?
club.
Oh, that's great. See, you're getting that
So,
representation around a broader area, and your
mhm.
family is growing. That's pretty cool. Do your kids get to go to both club meetings and participate with service for both, or do they mostly
They
focus with you or with
do.
her?
The mostly focused with me right now only because she's newly minted as a
I see.
Rotarian this year. She she's loved Rotary. She was the one who gave me the idea. I mean, yeah, I'm a Rotarian because of my wife. She's like, you need to find a Rotary club and be a part of it. You're doing all this networking. You need to do it. This is your assignment. So
You know, I
yeah,
think we
so
need to
she's
come
very
back
much.
again for a February Valentine's episode. Just have a bunch of Rotary couples
That would be
share that.
awesome. Yeah,
Yeah. Well, thank you for humoring my silly idea. Is there
yeah.
anything else that you want to tell us about yourself, your clubs, what you're looking forward to this year? Closing thoughts.
I'm really excited about the leadership paths that are going on in the district. I mean, the fact that, I mean, if you look at you, you're not in the normal skew of Rotarians, right? There's
Sure.
a lot less gray hair up there than some of us, right, that have it, right?
It's very light blonde, as I call it. Yes.
The fact that we're getting younger members back into Rotary, I think is really exciting. I think um, watching the impact Liz had as a DG and the impact that I know Don will have is really exciting. Um, and then excited to see your growth and what the district starts to look like as we go. I think this was my first year being a part of the strategic planning meeting, and I think um, it is really exciting to see kind of how we're growing as a district and the leaders that are coming out. And you always have those people that are behind the scenes that I don't think necessarily get as much recognition, like people like Jeff Reed, who put on Pets
Mr.
Forever.
Rotary. Yep.
Yes, Rob
Great
Bassett,
icon.
another one, right? Uh,
Hmm.
Polio Plus, that how he's kind of picked that up and put that on his shoulders. But Rotarians say yes. I think as you get to be exposed to different parts of the district, that's the most exciting thing is you think your little growth tract is like you're pushing and then you start to see the giants that make the district move and you're like, oh my gosh, there's a
Yeah.
lot of room for growth and a lot of room for mentoring. So that's what I'm super
Well,
excited about.
I couldn't have said it better myself. Thank you so much for being our guest today, Ben. You were astonishing. I can't wait to be part of RMB when we have an event up in the Oshkoshne and Menasha area or something else that
Sure.
I can drive to that fits with my schedule. I'm sure that sentiment is echoed by a lot of listeners.
Mhm.
And will you please lead us to close out this episode in the four-way test?
Okay, but I have a caveat here. So I went to
Okay.
Waukesha Club and they did the four-way test and I was a little lost. I've been a Rotarian 4 years, I'm pretty good with memorization. You play a song from the 80s, I'm probably singing along in about 3 seconds, right? But they start from scratch and then they move all the way through. Whereas our club, we always have somebody else lead it and it starts with the four-way test of the things we think, say, or do. And then that person says first, and then like a Pavlovian response, the rest of us echo back like a chorus, right? So it's almost like
Okay.
this
You want to
gospel-y
be the
thing.
leader and
So,
I'll be the echo. Okay. Lead us
okay.
off.
So, the four-way test of the things we think, say, or do. First,
Is it the truth?
second,
Is it fair to all concerned?
third,
Will it build goodwill and better friendships?
four,
Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
and then a controversial fifth. Will it be fun? Is how our club
Ah, yeah,
works.
I gotta say, I don't like the will it be fun, but maybe that's just because that's like some inner Luddite historian in me. I've also heard, can we get away with it as a fifth?
Oh, yeah,
Right.
there's that too. Yeah, one of these days we'll have to debate the will it be fun because I find it was interesting. Our club looked at, our strategic plan. Do we want to move away from it? And there
Hmm.
were a lot said yes, and a lot of members said no. So we stuck with it, and it'll be interesting to see. I'm kind of on the fence. I can see both sides.
Cool. You're the best, Ben. You have a really good one, and I think this episode's going to get a lot of traction. Thank you for joining
You
us.
too. Thanks so much, Christopher. I appreciate you being having me.
Take care. Bye bye.
Bye.